Deep inside the Katavi forests, there is a village deliberately hidden from the outside world, and the people here live under a single, absolute law. A towering baobab tree stands at its edge like a silent sentry. The elders say it guards the unspeakable secrets of the night and of the water. By day, the water of Mto Giza looks inviting. Silver fish break the surface. But you won't find a single antelope drinking from its banks, and the birds in the surrounding canopy refuse to sing. A hand-carved wooden sign has stood at the riverbank for generations. It bears the image of a skull, rolling waves, and a raised hand demanding you stop. Yet human temptation often ignores the wood. In this community, the fear of the dark river dictates exactly where families can walk, when they must hide, and who is allowed to live. The dread arrived in the form of a relentless fever gripping 4-year-old Amina. For 3 weeks, no medicine worked. Her father, Juma Baraka, sat by her bedside until he was too exhausted to even produce tears. Then came Bibi Zuhura. She was a local witch doctor, with one eye entirely black and the other as white as milk. The moment she stepped through Juma's doorway, the candles in the room visibly dimmed. Zuhura retreated to her hut, a dark space filled with dried plants, red clay pots, and animal bones. She performed her ritual and returned with a horrifying demand. The river spirit required Juma's 7-year-old son, Baraka, in exchange for Amina's life. Juma set his jaw and refused to sacrifice his boy. On the 3rd morning, the fever finally took Amina. By defying the demands of the ancient spirits, Juma broke the village's deepest law. He ensured the darkness would soon return to collect the debt it felt it was owed. Outside their home, Amina's mother Zawadi sat staring upward, whispering silent prayers of grief. A few yards away, entirely oblivious to the tension, young Baraka kicked a mango flower around the yard. Moments later, the yard was entirely empty. The mango flower lay in the dirt next to a single abandoned shoe. Baraka was gone. Zawadi let out a scream that fractured the evening silence. Every neighbor heard it. Every neighbor knew exactly what it meant, and absolutely no one stepped out of their homes to help. Except for Juma. Armed with nothing but a small lantern, he walked directly into the dense, creeping fog of the tree line. He was stepping completely alone into the territory of an unchallenged evil, relying on his faith to retrieve his own blood. When Juma reached Mto Giza, the water was unnaturally still. It didn't flow. It sat black and heavy, masking the massive presence creeping through the mud beneath. The Mzimu broke the surface, a shifting, formless mass of black water and shadow, anchored by glowing red eyes staring at the shoreline. The ground began to vibrate. Thick mud swirled violently around Juma's boots, threatening to pull him in. He planted his feet and refused to move an inch. Instead of fleeing, Juma hoisted his lantern toward the sky. Bypassing the local ancestors entirely, he called out to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He looked directly into the dark mass and issued a single, absolute command. In the name of Jesus Christ, set my son free. The river let out a deafening shriek. In seconds, the terrifying physical mass of the Mzimu shattered into fading smoke. The red eyes blinked out, permanently extinguished by a vastly superior authority. A pure, heavy silence settled over the woods. The water stopped churning. Mto Giza was suddenly just a normal river again. 20 feet down the bank, a small hand pushed its way out of the thick mud. Baraka sat up, coughing and searching the shoreline for his father. Juma dropped into the mud and pulled his son into his chest. They both trembled violently, no longer from terror, but from overwhelming gratitude. As Juma carried his sleeping boy out of the tree line, the sky began to lighten. For the first time in memory, the birds in the canopy started to sing. Zawadi waited at the edge of the village, collapsing into tears at the sight. Morning light flooded across the dirt paths, proving in plain sight that the family was whole and the curse was physically broken. Across the village, Bibi Zuhura sat in the center of her ruined hut. Her red clay pots were shattered to dust. Her hollow gaze stared at the wall, realizing the entity she relied on for her livelihood was gone. In the following weeks, Juma gathered timber and nails. Working board by board at the edge of the village, he constructed a simple church with a tin roof and a hand-drawn masalaba. On the first Sunday, the building was packed. Elders, youth, and children sat together under the metal roof, seeking the God who had stepped into the dark water and won. And down in the valley, Mto Giza flowed peacefully. Women washed their clothes in the current, and children splashed safely near the banks. As the Apostle Paul wrote in Romans chapter 8, "Absolutely, neither death nor life, nor angels nor rulers, nor things present nor things to come, will be able to separate us from the love of God."